Today, the most interesting person in the room is Mark Herlaar, famously known as Tarzan on Australian Survivor. He was a fan favorite, known for his charm and unbreakable loyalty. He starred in 2 seasons of the show, including Survivor All-Stars. He's also starred in several seasons of the UK version of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. But his most surprising adventure led him to Nepal, where he transformed into a guru. So we have a lot to unpack with literally someone who seems to have lived 1,000 lives.
This is the most interesting person.
The most interesting person.
The most interesting person.
Most interesting person.
The most interesting person.
Welcome to the most interesting person in the room.
Mark Herlaar, Tarzi, welcome to the show.
Thanks, mate. As they say in Nepal, namaste, you know.
I first came to know who you were when I was in Australia and New Zealand with my wife. We spent several months traveling, and we were at that time when in New Zealand where you start getting homesick. You just miss those things that made you feel like home. We happened to turn on the local TV, and in New Zealand it was Tonight on 2, Australian Survivor. And we were like, what's this? We turn it on, and Jonathan LaPaglia introduces and starts talking about Tarzan. And we're like, who is this guy? And at that time, you had a lot, the long hair going. You were an all-star. We hadn't seen the 2017 version of the show where you got that name. But all of a sudden, you were on there, and your essence of who you were was just the kind of guy that you're like, wow, I'd love to be friends with him. I'd love to talk with him. He'd be a good guy to have your back. And then, of course, on Survivor, you get stabbed in the back. So it wasn't exactly, but you were who you were on that show, and it's who you are in life. So let's talk about that first journey into fame and stardom and Survivor. How did you get into this?
Mate, it's actually, it all sort of links in. It's if I go back like even pre-Survivor, like the first one, I've always been on this journey, I guess, of as many of somewhat of an enlightenment. And when you say that, people think, oh, deeply spiritual instantly, but enlightenment comes in many forms, right? Like I had a business. I got out of that business. I changed into a different business. So that's an enlightenment of a business journey. So there's many forms of enlightenment, right? In my case, I always had a touch of spirituality with that. And I also had, the journeys of, being in business and all that sort of thing. But when I got out of a certain business that I had there for like 20 years, it was like a life-changing moment. And I remember getting up one morning and this is, I guess, something that I don't share a lot on podcasts, directly, because typically I just want to talk about Survivor, but you want to cover the whole, the whole story.
We want to know you.
Sure. And this is actually, that's like the beginning of that chapter, I guess you could put it that way. I got up one morning, I stepped out of bed, and I know this may sound weird to a lot of people, but then a lot of people would actually relate. So it depends who's listening, right? I got up and I clearly heard a voice speak to me. Now, I haven't been in any institutions lately, but I got up and I heard this voice, and I heard it so profoundly that I turned to look out the window. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was real.
Yeah, it was real as. And I mean, my wife was present, but she didn't hear the voice. So instantly we could go, hey, Tarzan's flipping. But to get to it, I heard this voice distinctly say to me, and it was like a whisper more than a voice of God coming from heavens, Yeah. It was basically a whisper in my ear that said, I'm going to make you a little bit famous, and there's a guru. And of course, imagine if you got out of bed and the first thing you hear is some voice speaking to you saying, hey, I'm going to make you a little bit famous, and a guru. And I wasn't the person that was on a journey for fame. I certainly wasn't looking. I wasn't an actor. I'd never been an actor. I wasn't pursuing that industry, not by any chance. And when I heard this, it stopped me in my tracks. And when I was looking left to right, my wife, who just got out of bed, she's like, what are you doing? I said, did you hear that? She's like, hear what? And I went, I clearly heard a voice speak to me saying, I'm going to make you a little bit famous, and there's a guru. And she said, what does it mean? I went, I've got no idea, but I said, anyway, what's for breakfast? We just moved on.
Right, right. It makes sense in hindsight, but at the time, you might have well has been anything, right? You just didn't know where it was going to lead.
Like I said, I wasn't pursuing, I had no inclinations. I wasn't a Buddhist. I wasn't studying Buddhism. I wasn't studying Hinduism. I wasn't studying gurus. I didn't follow. I wasn't even in that scene. I guess when I look over my life now and I'm trying to give some sort of reflection on it, I, you've seen the Hollywood dramas about the biblical events when Noah built an ark. It was that kind of a moment for me, I guess.
Yeah.
But I wasn't told to do anything. See, that's the energy that I really over my life now has been basically is like I don't have a specific plan. A lot of people have a lot of plans. I don't have one. It's just I'm just living day to day. We do the housekeeping, but I don't have a mission per se, right?
Yeah.
And when I heard this, it would have been about a year later. My mother passed away, and in that interim as well, I had a brother who passed away, and I think this adds some significance to it because you wouldn't even have this version of me if this brother hadn't have passed away, because when he did, symbolically, what some of the natives do in the islands around here is they shave their heads, they shave their beard, and then they grow that for 3 months, and then at the end of 3 months they shave it off, and that ends the period of mourning for the person who passed, right?
Okay.
So I just took it up a notch, and my brother was 5 years older than me. His name was Herman, and I remember shaving my head around. I just came to him, it's like, shave your head, cut your beard off, and then at that moment I dedicated the next 5 years to just growing hair as a
Wow.
remembrance of my brother. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So
Mm.
your initial look that the world got to see with Survivor with the long hair and the really long beard, that tribute to your brother was that still playing out then?
Yes, it was. It actually, because in the 5 years, so I was only about a bit over 12 months into that journey, and so I had a bit of growth. The hair was getting longer, and I was sitting on a couch in the lounge here with my sister just after my mother passed away. She came down to visit, and in that we were watching Australian Survivor, the first season, of the current producers, right?
Yeah.
With Lee Castledine and those in it,
Of course. Of course.
absolute legend, good friend now. Good. So see how weird life can get. I'm sitting on a couch with a sister. You'll love this part. My sister's name is Jane.
Okay. Jane and Tarzan.
You
I mean, you can't make it up. But
can't
see,
make that.
that's what's so amazing, right? You're watching Lee and now you're friends with Lee. I watched you and now I'm talking to you. So I mean, life is just weird that way. So you're growing this out. You're on the couch, you're watching Survivor, and does somebody say to you, you should be on Survivor, or do you feel like I could do this?
No, I'm sitting there like this, and I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, geez, that looks tough. And I'm seeing Lee Castledine, he's stripped, he's been in the show for a bit. He's lost a ton of weight. He's cut up. I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, geez, that guy's, he's really got it going. My sister Jane says to me, you should go on that show. And she said, you'd be good at it. And I wasn't like physically fit like he was, right? When she said that, I actually turned to her and I said, you know what? I think I might. And then I let it go. Funnily enough, like I like the story how it gets kind of like mysterious, there's all these, because I'm not pursuing anything. So for anything to happen to me, there's a saying we have, that you would have heard, whatever's meant for me will never pass me by.
Yes.
Meant for you if it's meant for you. So when I get up early morning, before crack of dawn and I start talking to you, I go, this is meant for you because it's not passing you by.
Exactly.
So
That's a great philosophy.
Well, it is, and it also adds. I think when you view your life that way, not to get off the track, but it's good to chuck a bit of spice in. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, when you view your life that way, what I find is the miracles come to you. You don't have to go looking for them. You don't have to even try and create them. You can. There's an ability within us all to perform miraculous things.
Yeah.
Like I look at even this with you this morning as a very, I guess this is the highlight. I look at even this with you this morning as being a crucial part of my existence.
Wow, that's amazing. It is really fascinating how sometimes in life we tend to try to force things, right? It's like, I want this, I want to impress my will and force my will, and we're efforting so much and it doesn't happen. And yet other things that perhaps are more meant to be or are meant to be a part of your story, no matter how significant or not, end up becoming a little bit easier.
Yeah, I find my journey is without effort.
Which is radically different than what society will tell you, right? The grind, the push, the dedication. How bad do you want it? That's a very vastly different philosophy than the life that you're living, and in some ways, the life that I'm trying to figure out.
Well, stop trying to figure it out.
Exactly. Just let it unfold. I love this part. You said I'm following life with the breadcrumbs that life is leading for me,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
I pondered that for like a good 2 hours. I was like, wow, it's so interesting. I love it.
It's very much an explanation I give because it does describe how my life is. I'm forever doing that, and I could talk to you forever about stories. And even in this week, I've seen miraculous things happen because of the breadcrumbs. And I'd love to share a story with you that happened this week to a special person and
Please.
we'll get to it. But to cut back to how I got on the thing,
Yeah.
when she said that, I didn't jump on the computer and look for audition dates or when this is happening. I actually went, yeah, sure. Yeah, I said to her, but I'd do it for different reasons because I was on a journey of getting to know who I was. And is there actually something for me to do while I'm on this planet that is meant to be done? Because we're all unique. There's like, what do they say, 8 billion of us, but there's 8 billion opportunities that are only destined for each and every one.
Mm,
I can't do what you're doing. This is your gig, man.
yeah.
I'm on this end of it. You're on that end of it. That's how
Yes. Yes.
and we're all unique. So anyway, I just went about my business. I think it was a few days later, I was out in the paddocks because we're on a farm here. We've got a lime farm and we make kombucha and things. I was out just doing farm work. The television is never on unless we're watching it, right? And
Yeah.
I came up to the house one day and the television was on when I came up to the house. And I'm thinking, why is the TV on? But I've got grandkids that live on the property here with me and that. So let's not chuck too much mystery in here. But it could have been a kid who turned it on and did a bolt. But nevertheless, it was on. And guess what was on?
Let's see. Survivor.
Well, yes, but in the form of an ad saying auditions now open, apply.
Oh man. Amazing.
And I
Amazing.
just looked, I know, man. And I looked at it and I went, that's a breadcrumb. And I applied. I instantly applied. I filled it all in, and then I shot a video about, a few weeks later. You can see it on YouTube. If you look at it, you'll see in there. It's a really good shot. My son-in-law's really good at editing. He's a school teacher, and he's done a lot of stuff with camera.
Okay.
He filmed it, but let's be honest, the whole thing was ad lib. The only thing we sort of we put together is when you watch it. Not to give you a spoiler if you want to look at it, but we actually blow up a stack of wood. So I kind of figured on Survivor I might need to know how to hunt and light a fire occasionally. So this is how I do it. And that was just spontaneous. Because my son was there, my son-in-law was there. They're like, "What are we going to do, Dad?" I went, "I don't know. Let's just roll. Let's just see what happens."
Yeah.
And so it's quite entertaining. The producers, I'll jump forward even now into when I'm in All Stars and we're on the flight home from All Stars, and the head producer of Endemol says to me, mate, he said, did we ever tell you, about your audition tape when we saw it the first time? I went, no. He said, come on, let's sit down and have some breakfast. We're on our way back to Australia. He shouts me, Brecky. He says to me, mate, the minute we saw you blow up that stack of wood, we said, put him on the island.
Wow, it paid off.
Mate, it was like, you couldn't have prepared. This was ad-libbed. We just went, oh yeah, what are we going to do? We're looking around. Yeah, let's blow up that stack of wood, and we added some mystique to it. But mate,
Um,
that's how I got on. When I went in, you know how you do an audition, then they come back to you. I had to do live auditions down in Brisbane, one of our capitals here.
yep.
When I went down for that, there was 16 of us. Now, here's where I'm already now embarking on the knowledge that I've got that says to me, you're going to be a little bit famous, but I'm not pursuing fame. Fame is a result of me being on the television. It's not what I was chasing.
Mm.
And I believe, because I have a profound belief in there's a creator that made this big ball we're spinning on, right? So I
Mhm.
want to get as close to that energy as I can before I actually stand in front of that energy in another form, right? That's my sort of thoughts in my head. They may not be true. I don't know until I get there. But anyway, when I went for this sort of open audition down there where there was like 16 of us, we went through the whole thing. We do a mock-up, this sort of stuff. We get to the end of it. I actually got voted off in the mock-up.
You did.
I did. I literally got voted off in the auditions. We're mucking around. We're doing some bits and bobs, and they're just emulating it a bit. And mate, they've gone, nah, the old guy's gone. And I'm like, sure. So I then felt that maybe my chances of getting on are slimmer now, but there was a profoundness in me, without arrogance, but there was a profoundness in me that knew that this was really part of the journey.
Mm.
And I just liked the fact I wasn't trying to get on there to get recognized. I was getting on there because it was part of something that I knew was part of my life journey, I guess. For whatever reason, I didn't know. But anyway, mate, out of that whole group, I was the only one they chose.
So the one you got kicked out in the mock, but you were the only one that they actually kept and pushed through to the next round.
Yeah, well, that's right. Not only the next round, the next day, it was quite an interesting, fun interview. I don't want to reveal too many of their secrets, but when I walked into my interview, again, I felt this energy within me say to me this one thing: make them cry, make them laugh. Just do that. And see, I have this other belief that tells me also that I don't even have to know what I need to say. When I arrive, it'll come.
Mm.
So I practice. I don't have to practice.
Yeah.
It
It's like
turn
an
up.
intuition. It's almost like
Yeah,
an inner knowing.
yeah, I guess it's when you're in those moments, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And I did make them laugh. I told them some real life stories that made them laugh and some ones that made them cry. And when that interview was over, they said, "Righto, mate, you can head out now." And as I walked to the door, this was another thing again. I'm feeling this energy. It said to me, "Don't open the door quickly, open it slowly." So I'm like, sure. I opened the door just gradually, slowly, and then all of a sudden, see, I'm giving time. If you got to work within perfect timing, you got to be in perfect timing, right? How do you become in perfect timing? You listen to your inner voice, the one that's telling you to slow down or to speed up or to do nothing.
Yes.
As I open the door slowly, now a producer shouts out, "Hey, hang on a second." And I turned to the producer and they said, "Are all those stories real? Did that really happen?" And I looked at them, and again, the words come. And I said, "Absolutely, every bit of it." They said, "There's no lies in that. That's all true." I went, "It's absolutely true." And then this came. And you'd know, if you're in this television land, people love certain things. And I wasn't preparing this, but this came. I said, "Absolutely, it's all true. But then I guess you'll never really know, will you?" And then I went to go out. It just popped out. And
Oh, that's amazing. I love it. I love it. Just a
And
little
then
tantalizing because what's the only thing that's better than the 100% true is just that 1% of mystery that's like, is this guy for
be
real?
for real. Yep. And you know what I looked like back then? I mean, I stood out. They told me, mate, even in Brisbane City, they said, our people have seen you around the city, you know, when you're just going out. You stand out, man. Of course I stand out. I'm on some journey that is manifesting for the now and for whatever the future looks like. Like we do have a future. I don't try to get too far into the future, but I mean, yesterday I was talking to some people in Nepal on the same sort of, platform. Now I'm talking to you in America. So there was a future. I slept last night. I woke up and here we are. But
Right.
I'm not overly planning into it or expecting or whatever. I'm just rolling with it.
Yeah, so they drop you off on the island, and they have the boat go away, and that idea of like, oh, you're really secluded and you're really left on your own. And of course, you've got your camera and production people. But did you really feel the sense of like you were marooned?
Again, I guess for me, I was on a journey masquerading as if I cared about playing Survivor. So the whole time I'm on the journey, I'm in every moment. Like I have a saying now that's developed, it's every breath and every step I take, right? Is a prayer. So that has developed because every moment I was sitting in that place, I was talking to the creator on a level of like I'm talking to you now in my head because I could be doing something, but I am still consciously always saying, hey, I'm really pumped. Like I'm so glad to be here, and I'm just looking to see what's coming or in the moment. So I'm on a show, but my mindset is somewhere else. And I think that shows because people say to me when I've been on the show, they basically say, "You never really played, did you?" And I went, "No, I didn't. I did the absolute opposite. And I mean, I played with all the enthusiasm in the challenges. I give it everything, man. Like I was like, this is good fun. But I never felt alone because I was always in good company.
Mm, right, right.
I was in my vessel and I was now feeling as if, okay, that voice that spoke to me and said, I'm going to make you a little bit famous. I kind of figured this was probably a bit of a catalyst for that. and I
Yeah.
got and I got picked out of the crowd. As you know, like in that show, I did things that most Survivor people wouldn't do. They're typically trying to undermine everybody. And I was actually trying to uplift, most of the people or
Right.
help.
The whole thing with the cookies and the sharing the cookies and all of
Yeah,
that.
that cookie story, it's fun. I'm glad you mentioned it because I was only just talking to a young lady yesterday who would love to do a podcast with me. And here's a little, I'll just make it short and sweet. That scene with the cookies and the firewood, I actually broke down in such a way they stopped filming.
Really?
Yeah. And
And
the and the
just for context, for the audience that may not, especially in the US, that may not have seen it, just set the stage real quick. You had the choice between firewood and sharing.
Yeah, so I could share the cookies. Sorry, I could share the firewood, but I had to keep the cookies and eat them myself and keep them secluded. Now, I didn't know you could break the rules in Survivor because Jerry, who goes on to win the thing, he's in the same dilemma and he's using the cookies as bartering tools. It's like, I thought a rule was a rule, man. If they say you can't share it, you can't share it. But hey, they don't mind if you break the rules, right? Makes
Right.
good TV.
Good
Makes
TV. Exactly.
so because I'm now in this thing where I'm now choosing to be the person I want to become. That's what Survivor was for me. It was a grounding. It was putting me in an environment that they were basically saying, we're taking everything away from you and we're going to treat you like rubbish. And you're surrounded by people that hate you. And so that's brilliant. That's what I needed. I wanted to be in that environment to see how I would shine above it, I guess, right?
Hmm.
Um, in that incident, I break down. The cameraman stops filming, and he's not really meant to talk to you, but he's like, "Are you okay, mate?" That's how concerned he is. Mate, you've really like. He's thinking this is cookies and firewood. Why is this guy bawling his eyes out? And if you watch that scene, you'll see some of that emotion. Um, I said, mate, I'm making a decision on who I want to be,
Mm.
not not what I'm doing. Like I want to, this is to me a moment where I get to actually really discover what I would do in situations that like make you want to do this, right?
Right.
So anyway, I decided to take the firewood back, and nobody in the camp really gave us stuff. They just kind of was like, "Oh, you could have eaten the cookies, man. We don't care, because we're all assholes." Like, what does
You're
it
going to be
matter?
out at tribal council anyways, so you might as well.
Yeah, you should have stuffed your guts, right? Anyway, the funniest thing is, if we jump forward now to when that airs on television,
Yeah.
I've now got Instagram. I'm watching the show for the first time myself. I get a message on Instagram, in my DMs, and there's this young lady. She says to me, Tarzan, she says, I got to tell you, she said, I'm a prostitute and I'm a crack addict. But what I saw you do tonight shifted something in me that made me give up both of those things right now. I'm never turning back to these things. And that's
Really?
like what in 2017, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
she's writing to me yesterday, and in that time from 2017 to now, she has completely changed her life
Really.
because of that small thing of not eating bloody cookies and taking fight. She saw the energy that was within me that was going across the screen, man. Like I wasn't sitting there with her. She's watching it. Months later it airs, and she's watching it, and she's now having this enlightenment and this transformation within that's profound enough now to have carried her out of the addiction, out of that career, if you like. And she's now living in the country with a new boyfriend. She's got a good life. She's actually doing good for other people. So,
Wow.
man, would you take the cookies?
That's amazing, and it's just like you were talking about in the beginning. What is an enlightenment? Enlightenment is anything that changes your perspective from the life that you're living to the life that you want to live, and how amazing that something was going on in her, and perhaps
Yeah,
she had been worldling about it in her mind and her heart, and she sees you, and something about that speaks to her,
yeah.
and literally without you having any idea of who she is and her not knowing really you're just a
Uh,
character on TV to her, changes her
exactly.
life. That's incredible.
But
Wow.
I think that is the power of what like and my journey now. I'm seeing more and more of that. I can tell you stories about the miraculous. I can tell you stories about the miraculous even on film sets that I've seen happen. Now, if I'm going to make you a little bit famous, for what reason? Like, do I need to be famous? No.
Yeah.
Do I need the money? No. So the reason is for whatever reason that the creator says to me, I'm going to chuck this guy into this circle because he's going to get the job done, I guess. I don't know, man. It's like I wasn't looking for fame.
Did you sense a difference within yourself after the show and how you lived your daily life? Like, what do you think you took from that experience, right? 11 days later, in one instance, it seems like, well, geez, I was, less than 2 weeks ago, I was here. You came back a
Yeah.
changed person, or at least a more confident version of yourself. Like, oh, I actually know what I would do in these situations. I know who I am. How did it change you after the show?
Um, it's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know if I've been asked that one too much because, like, I'm in a constant stage of change. Like I say to my wife, I'll come back a different version. I'm just not sure which one. So I think I must have been given this kind of, I guess, I'm equipped with the ability to adapt quite quickly.
Mhm.
When I grew up as a child, I mean, I only did, I think I did 10 years of schooling, but I did it in 8 different schools
Mm,
because we moved around quite a bit. My father was a minister of religion, funnily enough. Um,
interesting.
yeah. And so he would be, told he needs to do this church, he go to this church. So we just shifted all the time, right?
Yeah.
That makes you as a young person where you're the new kid at school just about every year. You need to adapt quickly, man, to adjust. Otherwise, you're just not gonna survive, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for
So,
real.
yeah, so I think those, even as a young child, I was used to change. I was used to adaptation, and then I'm now on a journey where I'm trying to become, I guess, as most people would say, their better self, right?
Hmm.
and I didn't have, like in the case of Noah where he was told to build an ark. I wasn't told that I was going to do anything, except I was told I was going to be made a little bit famous. So there's a difference to being made a little bit famous than pursuing the fame. I think there's two different things, right? I
Yeah.
was kind of pushed into it rather than chasing after it.
Yeah.
And I think that's all makes a difference. So when I come back, am I a different person? I'm probably a different version of the person that I'm wanting to become, because you know I'm look at me, man. Like after 8 years on this journey, you know, I've now become a Nepalese guru. So it's like, you know, even with those guys, I say to them, listen, I'm a guru to you, but to my wife, I'm just her husband. You know what I mean? People
Yeah.
see me still as Tarzan, even though I shaved my head because of the guru gig. If you're into the Bible a little, and I like the Bible, it's got some brilliant stories. There's some really good stuff in there. There's some stuff I think that's been tampered with, but hey, that's another debate, right? But there's some stuff in there that is absolute gems, and I do really find like there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah.
If you've never read the thing, you should have a read. Just treat it like a book and have a good look. You know,
Yeah.
there's a thing in there that I think for me has become resoundingly true. Right, I become all things to all people. I become, for what reason? In the Bible, it says, I become all things to all people so that I may win them for the kingdom of God. What I say, and I get a bit emotional, so you'll bear with me.
I'm with you.
Yeah, man, this is the gold. These tears are the thing that is actually, if you've watched Survivor, you'd have seen me cry quite a bit. On All Stars, at the end of it, they said, "Hey Tarzan, you've cried 187 times on the show. Can you give us one more?"
Get that close up of the tear, right?
Can you give us just one more? Sure, why not? I become all things to all people. So, and I just rephrase this a little bit for my own lifestyle, right? I'm not trying to get you to believe in anything ever. I'm not a guru. I'm not Tarzan for a purpose that I can change you. You change you. You decide who you want to become. If I've helped shed light on something in your life that actually brings an enlightenment to you, then I have become all things to all people so that I can help you to regain the consciousness that you are manifested as a creation of the Creator. I want you to get back in touch with the essence of who you really are and what you were meant to be. That's it. I'm not into religion.
What's interesting is that sometimes there's different roles that we play individually, but you're the same person. So like you said, you're just the husband and wife to your partner. You're a guru to some people. You're the TV guy to others, right? And there's all these different roles or hats that you can wear, but ultimately at the same time, there's the ability to, whoever you're out there and whoever's absorbing you or being influenced by you, it's hopefully they get what they need out of the interaction or what you're putting out there, right? It's the idea is like you can only control the output. You can't control the outcome. You can't control or to say, well, now that you're seeing this, this is what I want you to think and believe. People will try to do that. It's actually kind of human nature in a way to influence. But at the same time, if you can just be, what's that?
They call them influencers, right?
Right.
It's a big thing now.
Do what I do, right? I drink this, I do this, right? I'm in a better place than you are, so therefore you should follow me. And at the same time, even if we just break it down to the bare minimum, it's, are you living your life in a way that you're true to yourself in whatever chapter version that you're in, and other people who are observing you, what, if anything, are they gleaning from that or taking from that that can have an impact in their life? Some of our greatest teachers can even be those that we see going, oh, I don't think I'd ever want to do that. Oh, I don't think I'd want to be that person. That contrast of both wanted and unwanted is really integral to our life. And especially if you can look at life through that lens of wanted, unwanted, looking at that and saying, I like that. Oh, I wouldn't want that. It can be helpful.
Absolutely. I think, see, in the interim between that, between the first one and All Stars, I've also now got the role of Kiosk Kev working for the largest reality TV show in the
Mm,
world. Celebrity Get Me Out of Australia with Ant and Dec and like, so that happens in between. Just in the energy around the fact again is that the God of all says, I'll make you a bit famous. Here's this. Now this. Now, when I went for that audition, they asked me to audition for it. And when I did, the first thing they said, they wanted to cut my hair short and shave my beard off. And I,
interesting.
yeah, and I was like, so now, they're sliding across the disclaimer thing for me to sign that I won't tell anybody that I've been offered this gig, right? And
Right.
I looked at, and she said to me, but you'll have to cut your hair and shave your beard off. Just keep the mustache. And now
Interesting.
I'm only 3 years into my brother's journey. 3 years in. I've got two more to
Two
go,
more
man.
years. Right.
I'm like, that's the thing that's sitting in here, not looking at this thing. I'm not chasing fame. They
Right.
asked me to come. They said, come and audition. I said,
Yeah.
okay, come and audition.
And
I,
also for our audience, right?
Hmm.
Because there's a UK version and then there's the US version, the Celebrity Get Me Out of There. In the UK version, you actually, as like an actor, play
yeah,
a role
yeah,
in the Outback Shack,
yeah,
where the contestants, when they get their coins or whatever, they can come and it's like a commissary where they can buy things and you're the shopkeeper. But
yeah,
interesting and a little bit of controversy is that you were replacing Keith,
yeah,
right? So he was somebody who was, beloved and people were used to. All of a sudden you
I,
show up and,
mm,
the internet and everyone goes crazy. Hey, who's this?
yeah,
And is it also true that maybe they wanted you to have a similar look because
they
he just
did.
had the mustache?
I actually think, and I can't tell you for to be certain, but I actually think they probably wanted to keep the name and keep a similar image, but they just needed a new face because he got the sack, right?
Right.
So, um, so I'm not into production. That's their gig. So, but when I get offered this opportunity, I push it back to the lady and I go, I can't do it. And she's like, are you serious? I went, yeah, I am. And she says to me, like, this is the largest celebrity gig in the world, man. Like, it's the biggest celebrity show. It's got
Yeah.
the TVs, a massive production company. I went, I know. I said, it's cool. But I told her the story about my brother. And she's like, right. See, when you say to somebody, I'm doing something in honor of somebody who's dead, it adds different value to the whole energy, right?
Hmm.
It does, because this is a respect thing. This is real life. This is me saying, I'm not doing something and because I promised something. Like, I don't know why. I just made this commitment.
Right.
When I pushed it back, she said, well, let's film the audition anyway and see what happens. And then I'll cut to the chase. They ring me back up. I get on the film set. They ask me, they say, righto, man, we're gonna test run you. We'll see how you go. They put me on. I end up talking to one of the guys. He says to me, hey, man, just so you know, um, when you said you wouldn't cut your hair and stuff, we just decided to remodel the character just around you now. And, he got the similar outfit, but nah, we're just taking you. And he says, and we're going to call you Kiosk Kev. And I went, brilliant. I said, what's your name? He said, my name's Kevin.
And I had a little input into that name.
Yeah, I got named after the guy who decided to keep everything like I was, right?
Yeah.
I got to tell you, usually every year when I'm on that show, and I don't need, as we say in Australia, I don't need to piss in anyone's pocket. Like, I'm already nearly 60. I've got a property. My family surrounds me. I've got a beautiful life, right? I don't need more money and I don't need more fame unless it's for some purpose that's greater than my interests, right? So when I say things about people, you can be assured that I'm saying it for the right reasons. And I can tell you, these people, working with these people is an absolute pleasure. Mate, they are the nicest people to work with. And when I'm on that film set, they treat me like as if I'm like, I guess they just treat me like they treat everybody, but they make me feel really special just to be there.
That
And they
is
don't,
amazing to hear.
mate, they are like some of my best friends, like the camera guys that film Survivor. film this show as well in Australia. So I get a family reunion every year now with all my survivor mates.
No kidding. That's
That's
amazing.
true, man. I got some of the best cameramen in the world that I know as good friends, and I probably only see them once a year. They're busy guys, but I've got to tell you, like for me, if I had to say the journey I'm on, it's my journey, and I guess I'm helping others along the way. But man, I am blessed and blessed and blessed, and like I go there and I sit on that film set for probably 8 hours, and I do about 30 minutes work.
Mhm. Yep, that is show business, right? Hurry up and wait for your time.
Sure, but the rest of the time, I'm privileged to be able to be sitting in the funnily enough in the cafe or the kiosk as we might call it.
Yep.
I'm sitting there waiting for my roll call, and I'm talking to there's 700 people on this film set, and I get to share their life stories and my life stories, and they're from all over the world. Plus, everybody loves this character, Kiosk Kev. In England, he's a bit of a household name. 49% of the total viewing population watch this show. That's
And
a
it's also fun for you as the actor because the character is meant to kind of needle
yeah,
these celebrities, right? So
yeah,
you've got
yeah,
people like Nigel Farage
yeah.
and other
Us,
people, and you kind of give
Caitlyn
it to 'em.
Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner was on there one year. Like, she was a hoot. I mean, there's heaps of them. I don't know a lot of them because it's a lot of English European television and we don't see it here much. But, the ones you've seen, when
Yeah,
Boy George, that was a highlight for me. I got to actually have a chat to Boy George, and that was
really.
interesting. I said something, I won't go into all the details, but as Boy George and me were finishing up, I said something to him because he's a spiritual cat, right? And
Yeah.
I said something to him just before he was walking off because they filmed this interview that I did with him. It was an offset. It wasn't part of the show. It was just they did this for me because I told him I really liked him. So they said, well, we'll let you interview him, but we're going to film it.
Oh, that's
Right.
awesome.
Yeah, so I was like, how cool is this? And anyway, so they did. But I said something to George as he was leaving, and he turned to me and he said this. And this was before I'd made this trip to Nepal. This was before this happened. So this to me was profound. George turns to me and I'd said something to him, and he turned to me and he looked at me and he went, "Are you some sort of a guru?" And I looked at him and I went, "Who knows?" Who
Breadcrumb,
Yeah,
right? It
yeah,
was a breadcrumb.
that's it. Boy George was being enlightened by the same source that enlightens me and enlightens anyone who chooses to look, right? I mean, whatever dropped into him, it just popped out of his head. He probably didn't think he was giving me anything directly from the source. He probably just thought, because of what I said to him, he said, "Are you some sort of guru?" And then he just laughed and he walked away. So that to me is like gold, man. That's like that's me seeing a golden breadcrumb along the journey because
Yeah.
I think, well, when was that? That wasn't I'm not sure now. I don't think it was last year. It was possibly the year before, right? That he was
Okay.
on there. And so it took another year or so, and then I've become a guru. So
Wow.
just listen.
And I can't wait to get into that level and that next step for you. So you're on the set, right? You're able to interact with different people.
Mm,
You've really created this world where you get to, like you said, it's a reunion. You get to come on. You're enjoying the
mm,
people you're working with.
mm.
Your fame is coming to you, and you're enjoying what you do, and the output is fun and
Yeah,
exciting, and you just so happen to be getting that level of fame that you can use
yeah.
for other enlightened things. So
Well, I
then,
think that's why we're talking, right? We wouldn't be
right,
having this conversation if you didn't see me on Survivor.
exactly,
And I'd
exactly.
like to add some extra value to what you're doing. It's the most interesting person in the room could be you. And here's the reality, right? You and me don't know where this goes, right? And like I told you the story about the cookies and the firewood, that changed a person's life forever. That saved somebody's life.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
you're
it's
what you're doing and what I'm doing is we're allowing ourselves to be used by the source so that maybe even through this, somebody may have a change, right?
yeah. It's
So,
it's cool, and honestly, even to share with you a little bit more about like my background and how I that resonates with me is that you also never really know what stage or what impact anything can have, right? So, I've had multiple chapters in my life, and so my early career was in television and in creative stuff. I had a marketing and branding company and all of that. And I started to work with parents, helping them reconnect with children that were rejecting them using my own experiences. And at the same time I was doing that, I was still doing client services, websites, and branding. And I had put out a video about my experience and hoping that it would help someone else. And I got a message on Facebook that's from somebody, and they said, I was thinking about killing myself because I felt so alone. And yet I saw your video, and, in essence, it saved me. And I
there you
literally
are.
it was one of those days where you're multitasking, right? I saw that and I was like, got to jump on this call. And then I was on the call and this person was reaming me out for, I said burgundy on the website. That's not burgundy. Check the code again, check the hex code. And so I literally had this moment. I was like, what the am I
Yeah.
doing? Right? Like I have two choices, this world or that world. And so now 10 years later, since that moment, where I've been helping parents and helping other people as a coach and
Good
things, I wanted
idea.
to dip back into my creative and to have my life be more than, in addition to this work, having these conversations, talking to interesting people, hearing other people's life story, and at the same time, quite honestly, not always having to be the one that has to figure out how
Uh,
to help someone, right? So it's cool to hear you say this because to me, where the stage I'm in, I'm totally doing it for fun. I'm totally doing it for, if nobody ever saw it, like, how would you spend your time and you didn't have to worry about money? This is what I'd love to do, and
that's
creation. So what
sure.
comes from it is, hey, this is great. I've already
Yeah.
won. And so it's
Mate,
cool to think
uh,
about that.
there's so many different levels of everything that happens on this planet, right? Like I'm known as a guru to some over in Nepal, right? Then you've got Sadhguru. You would have heard of Sadhguru. Like he's known to probably 150 million people. Everybody has a different place to play. Can you get close to Sadhguru? Could you get him on a podcast?
Nope.
No, but you can get me.
I can. I can, and I'm glad for it.
And not only that, we've got the same mission. We've all got, I said it to an atheist the other day, self-professed atheist. This person, I love her dearly. She's related and she's an atheist, but I don't care. That's her choice, man.
Yep.
And she said to me, we're in a conversation about spiritual things, and I was saying how this happened and that happened, and such a mysterious thing how it happened. And she said, oh no, that's just probably normal. And I went, how would you say that was normal? So she gave me an example of something that happened in her own life where she'd said something about how she could do something or be good at something. And only a week later, someone rings her and asks her if she's happy to do it, right? So,
Amazing.
and I said this to her, I said, listen, this is from where I'm sitting. You're an atheist. You don't believe in anything other than the Big Bang Theory and that we're all self-manifested. Sure. If that's filling your boat, go for it. I said, here's what I just got from what she said to me. When she told me what she said, it showed that things were happening in her life the same as they happen in my life. And I said to her, here's the thing, and I'm not judging, I'm just saying from where I sit, from me, what you just showed me is that this creator, this God energy that I believe in, that loves me unconditionally, also loves you unconditionally. The only down part is that you don't see it, you don't recognize it. You see it as our normal. You see it as something that we are capable of. Like I made a cup of cacao. I'm capable of manifesting my own food, right? The point is that I still give thanks to the creator for creating a planet that I could grow it on.
Right.
See, if you're not touching into the energy of where you're seeing how God is actually shaping your life for you and helping you to have your best life, it's not just a journey of sacrifice so that you can go, oh, I did all this and I've got nothing. No, it's a journey of just enlightenment to know that what was created for us may not be exactly as the way it appears now. but find out what it's meant to be like. Find out what your journey is meant to be like. And it's things like what you're doing here, which help open that up to people that may not be able to see it in some other format. So
Yeah. I
I
think
just
that's
recognize God in my life, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. And the really amazing thing is, again, whatever you believe spiritually or even don't, the fact that good things can happen, can line up for you, even if you don't recognize where it comes from, is pretty amazing. And then if you do actually start recognizing it, looking for signs, looking for breadcrumbs, then it becomes it could become a magical journey. What's next? I had
I
a
guess
great
we
person.
would, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, one of the greatest things somebody ever told me was, especially whether it's good or bad, it's wait for the reveal. You have no idea where this is going to come, where this is going to go, so just wait for the reveal.
No, you don't. And you know, one thing, you're absolutely right. And the other thing I like to add to that is look at how you're responding in the moments, because they're the only thing that matters. How you're responding in the moment to, like, you know, even getting up early to do a podcast with a great guy in America. Like, it's like, you know, oh geez, man, I gotta get up. It's like, man, how you're responding. I'm like, I'm responding in an energy like I should. I'm like, I was tired. I was like, but I'm gonna have a cold shower. I'm gonna have some cacao. How am I responding? I'm in the minute, man. You gotta be in the second, right? We are, there is no such thing as time. We created time. We measured it, like this movement. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. We measured the movements of the sun, and then we called it time, and we made it so that it was a burden to us to have to fulfill it, right? I have a property in Vanuatu, and I like to go there occasionally and spend time with the locals, you know, the indigenous people there. They have a thing over there called local time, which means if you said to them, listen, could you be here at 12 o'clock? You know, we want to dig some holes and put some posts in. They go, yes, yes. And they turn up the 2 days later at like, say 5 o'clock at night. And I go, what happened to that? Oh, sorry, but we're here now. Like, they're not working on the seconds and the minutes like you and me have become accustomed to.
Yeah.
Start to work on your body clock time, as in your moments, and, you know, just be. Just, if you can find that space, you know, even for a moment within the day, just to bring yourself into a place of where it
Yeah.
doesn't matter, you know.
I love what you just said, is that idea of like just a moment in the day, because it can be really seem like a huge goal or a huge undertaking to try to live a life that's devoid of the clock. When everything else around you, talk about feeling isolated, everything else around you seems to push and pull you. But
Yeah.
a way to get started is to just get started. So it's like, what's that one thing that it doesn't matter? I mean, I've seen people, whether it's exercise or in a steam room, it's like, I have to put the timer on so I know exactly how long I'm in the steam room. I'm like, stay in the steam room until you either pass out or you just go, you know what, I've had enough. I'm good. Like, who cares what the clock says? Who are you trying to prove it to?
Exactly. We do that every day, mate. We get up in the morning, me and my wife, and I've got what we call a sweat lodge, and it's built out of bamboo, and we chuck blankets over it, and
Yes.
I actually put a burner in there with some sauna rocks, and it's very low to the ground. And you've got to basically get out and crawl in on your belly, and we do that intentionally so that it's a humbling of yourself, that I'm now, and we usually do this naked because it's, you know, much more fun. And
Of course.
yeah, and so now you're crawling in, and inside is just bare earth. It's just dirt, mud, right? And we're sitting in mud every morning, right? This is like typically our morning routine. We go down there, both of us, we sit in the mud. We're in a place that you can only fit three of us in it anyway. It's very cramped, it's dark, and it's hot as hell. We get it so hot that your ears are on fire. And people go, why do you do that? We go, we do that so that we're training our body to withstand these temps. Plus, it's really good for you, the good sweat. But we're also training our inner being, our spirit, to be able to withstand pressure. When under duress, we're not panicking. We're not racing out. We're not going, my God, my ears are on fire. We're just sitting in it. We're sitting in it. And it's like, for me, we never take a clock. We just sit in it, and, mate, probably 10 minutes. It's not
Yep.
long. probably 10. We never count it. And as soon as we get out, we now have to crawl out on our sweaty bellies. And then what do? We jump in a pond that's icy cold because it's winter.
Yes. Contrast therapy.
And we sit there up to our necks. It's kind of like Wim Hof would be proud of us, right? So
Yes. Yes.
we sit up to our necks, and that's where we meditate. And
Yes.
people go, don't you have to meditate in a certain way? I meditate when I'm sitting in ice water, and I just focus on nothing, and I just listen to what's around me, and I don't allow myself to add any thought to what I hear. I just listen. And
Yeah.
that's so peaceful. But I'm sitting in ice cold water. It doesn't matter. I'm just actually embracing it. And then we get out and we have breakfast.
Amazing.
I
And
know, it's a good way.
it's funny because I have an infrared sauna at home that I use. So I'm going to
Yeah.
feel real bougie the next time I go into it. And I'm going to be thinking about you on your belly in the mud. But
Yeah.
it is that what that can do to you, not only, of course, the physical attributes, but mentally what it unlocks within you, and then going to ice bath or something like that, especially if you go all the way up past like the vasovagal nerve,
Yeah.
it has an amazing property. And then it also, like, it's a great way to start the day off. Like, it's really hard. The first time I ever went into a cold bathtub, like in the morning, and I live in the mountains where there's a lot of snow, so
Cool.
you don't have to put ice in it. The water out of the tap is freezing. And I was just like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
And then you start getting a little more used to it, and then you try to avoid the freak out, avoid the panic. And then you build this confidence, or like this trusting within yourself. It's weird, when people, like you said, when people hear it, why would you do it? And I know it's becoming a little more mainstream, but
Oh, yeah.
but which is great, but just that idea of what it,
And we had a bit of a malfunction there. How's that?
there you are. That was awesome. So it's just, I just love the idea of what that can do to your inner being, of building that confidence and building that consistency of like, I can do this. I can do these hard things.
Yeah, and look, some days it is hard, some days you sort of think to yourself, not so much nowadays, I guess. I kind of know the benefit of it. I'm also very privileged. Like I said, we live on a property here. My son and his wife live here. Our grandchildren live here. I always say to my wife, if we're having a bad day, you're not allowed to have a bad day per se, because you're surrounded by such greatness, right? So if you're having a bad day, it's probably something that you need to shift in you, that needs shifting, and get rid of it, because man, there's people out there on this planet that know what a bad day is all about, right?
That's true.
So the things, like I say, even if we come back to Survivor and even All Stars and stuff like that, they gave me an opportunity to have a bad day.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, and then, to rise above that, and to become, in All Stars, to get back on the Survivor boat, I remember 46 days on that island of being just bliss. I was like, man, I could stay here. This was like, I'm just cool. This is like sleeping under a coconut tree. I kept thinking about the story of Buddha and how he was under the boab tree for 51 days, right? I got 46 under a coconut tree.
Well, yeah. What was that like going back into it? Did it feel a sense of like, oh, I know more what to expect? Did you have a different, I don't want to say strategy, but did you have any different thought process going into it? Or was it just another chapter of, let's see what I learn about myself this time?
Yeah, I also knew it was coming. I anticipated after the first one, I really felt that I would be back. I really felt I was cut short. And as you know, they made me fan favorite. And I did an interview with one of your American Survivor players, Johnny Fairplay, right?
Oh, you can't have more opposite of a strategy going in.
Me and him are doing a Zoom, and he's like talking about the Survivor stuff, and I think I was bringing him back to spirituality quite a bit, but they don't want to know about it, man. It's like we just want to, good guy. I liked the interview. There was another guy with him too. His mate was in there with him, but listen, he asked me questions. when I went back into survival, I knew I was going back. I knew in the energy that this wasn't finished. That's all. I just knew there was something else. When I had no idea because no one was asking me, I just felt the fact that I would probably end up back here,
Yeah.
and I did, and I got the final five, right?
Yeah, you did really well.
Well, I did well, but I got to be honest, man. I didn't really play the game. I kind of, just went along with the guys. Like, I'm the worst Survivor player that's ever existed to get voted fan favorite, right? So, and I get to number five. I'm sure there's worse players than me, but nah. When it comes to the energy, I'll tell you, there was one challenge. We go into a cake shop. We win this challenge, and we got to go into the cake shop, and you
Mhm.
got 7 minutes in the cake shop. What you don't see on the cameras just prior to that, but what you will have seen is I went in first, didn't I? I mean, if you remember it, I went in
Yep.
first. Why did I go in first? Because when we had to make the decision of who was going in first and last, they all said, send Tarzan in first. If he finds an idol, he'll just tell us anyway.
Amazing.
It's like they're like,
They
send him
they
in.
they had your number. Yeah, because then the next one would go in. I mean, it was just carnage, right? I mean, they're just destroying the cakes, destroying everything.
Hey, man. And I guess, I was looking for it, but I was like not looking for it. I mean, on the whole show, the only time I get my name written down is the night I go home.
Right.
In 46 days, I don't even get my name written down. So you could say, hey, he's a really good player, or you could say no one really saw him as a threat. So why
Right.
should we write his name down?
Right. Right.
I said to Dave Janet on it, I said to him, listen, mate, I got to tell you, if we get down to final two, I'm going to tell him to give you the prize because you really deserve it. Like, imagine that as a final two, right? That kills television. They don't want Tarzan up the front there get the final two. That's
No.
bullshit. If he's in there, because Dave deserved every bit of it. He's the only guy I actually believe, and no disrespect to other players, but I honestly believe he's the only guy in all of the seasons, and I mean this with respect, right? This is just emulating him. The reality is I think he's the only bloke who's ever earned it. Most other players are a default winner because they managed to knock out the best player, and then they go, "Here I am," you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's only my opinion. Take it or leave it. But
Yeah. No, I agree. I thought David was by far one of the best players that's ever played on Survivor, even in the US.
yeah, I haven't seen a lot of the current US stuff. I used to watch it years ago when it first came out, but not religiously. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm the worst guy you get to final two, mate, because my honesty has got to probably be paramount. I seriously, I said, mate, you've got it. Like, I
Right.
mean, I couldn't sit there and see if they gave it to me because they hated you. I'd be like, no, let's give it to him.
Yeah. And everyone else is, trying to explain, make their case for why they need the money, what they're going to do with it. You're like, I got the house, I got the family, I got the lime farm, I got my kombucha. I don't really need anything. I'm good.
I don't need the title because I didn't earn it, right? Like, he earned the title, man. That guy in Challenges, he was sick as a dog on that show. I was on holidays. Like, seriously, man, they couldn't, like, they were paying me to sleep on the beach.
Yeah.
And I had some really profound moments. There was some good spiritual stuff going on. I used to lay there. It's a great place to ground. I'm laying there, and I'd often, it's funny, this is just my mind, the day every morning I'd wake up, I'd see these pigeons, fly around the trees. The day I go home, I see a hawk.
I got to ask you, when you're on the show, like the bugs would totally get to me. I'm not a bug person. So how did you deal with that? And my other question is, do the camera production people, are they literally filming, like, as everyone's laying around on the hot days, are they literally filming 24/7 just in case something happens?
Sure. Yeah, there's never nobody there. There's always somebody there. And I guess in hindsight, there's always something happening, right? Even if it's just like you go down to the, like every morning, I used to go down to the couple 100 meters away from camp and take a nudie dip. So I just have a fresh up, get the cold water, have a bit of a wash, and then, come back. They made a story out of that.
Right, right. Who you
They
went down
made
to the, or who you went down to the water with, who do you go to the
Yeah.
well with?
Yeah, and there's always something happening, but mate, it's like I got to tell you, some people ask me, they go, "Would you do it again?" I said, "Look, I don't think they'd probably ask me because I'm not the player that they want, right? I'm not the guy I'm not the Johnny Fairplays, I'm not the David Janet, I'm not the Luke Toki, mate. I go on it for a different reason. Even when I finished All Stars, I hugged the head producer and I said, "Thank you again for the opportunity for me to grab."
Wow, that's amazing. That is a different type of Survivor player, for
Yeah,
sure.
I guess I've been on the show twice, but I would, out of respect for the show, I would consider myself to never have been a survivor.
Mm. What was
I
what would you say surprised you the most about being on the show? Like as an actual production and the experience, like what surprised you about being on the show?
in which regard? There's many surprises. So
Well, I
like,
guess any surprise that stands out.
I think if this is a question a lot of people ask, is like, some people think every night when they turn the lights down, we go to a motel, right?
Right.
Mate, it's as real as real. Like the only thing that you have in the back of your mind is a safety net, is that if it gets very, very, very treacherous, they would pull you out for some
Hmm.
reason.
Okay.
But they're never pulling you out just because you stubbed your toe, right? Like
Yeah.
it's got to be a life-threatening issue, or it's got to be something that's very concerning to yourself. They allow the story to unfold. There's no coercing, there's no manipulating, except through the game itself, like where they'll put in challenges or they'll put in rewards. I'd
Right.
say when it comes to an integrity for a reality TV show, I would say Survivor has the highest integrity when it comes to true life. It is exactly, we are starving, we're cold, we're hungry, and if you're not in a good mood, there's a real bad energy it's real as real, man. I've
Yeah.
seen blokes in there really hate on each other in a way that you'd say, shit, man, like this is like they don't like each other.
It's real, yeah. I mean, it is one of my favorite, it is my all-time favorite reality show for all those different
We watch
socio
it.
or anthropological reasons, social psychology type of
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
I always wondered, when they do the interview show, when they do the interview portion and they take you somewhere and, ask you questions and you're narrating, here's what happened. I
yeah,
always
yeah.
wondered if you could ever get clues by the questions people would ask, like, oh, were you ever nervous that when David and so were over there that they might be plotting against you? Or I always wondered if some of those questions were leading and you could maybe get just a little bit of a sense of what the storyline was.
They're very good at what they do. I got to tell you, one of the things but same as working on I'm a Celebrity, and I've said this on many occasions on my Insta feed, particularly when I'm there, when I go back after 12 months, mate, these are some of the most intelligent people on the planet. The psychologists that they have on Survivor, like, are some of the nicest and grounded people you'll ever meet. Um, on I'm a Celeb, the film crew, the photographers, mate. You're surrounded by so much talent. It's for me. I just get a buzz out of being around people that are very good at what they do, and the integrity of it. I would say, I've never had a bad day on television set, to be honest. I've always been impressed with whatever happens. So I'm not one of those. I guess I'm an actor. I hold a title as actor because I'm Kiosk Kev, but I'm not an actor, right? I'm a guy that they said, hey, we want to chuck him into this and see what happens, and this is what's happening. And I feel a lot like Forrest Gump most times, to be honest. How we just turn up and something happens, and
And you sometimes looked like him. So it's
that's right, true, yeah, that's right.
so let's transition a little bit more because I really want to hear about how this guru stuff happened for you. Coming off of all of the fame that found you, then what was that like? What happened? What was that next step?
Well, I guess the first step in that is like, as I said, when I heard the voice of like, you're going to be a little bit famous and there's a guru. Um, I liked it just even in the first part of that. I love how when I felt that the source was telling me I'd be a little bit famous. So if the source tells you you're going to be a little bit of anything, yeah, you can expect a fair bit of something. I'm going to make you a little bit famous. I guess I'm not trying to blow my horn, man, but I'm world famous in that light, but in a little way.
Yeah,
See, if I was Chris Hemsworth or Mel Gibson, the fame takes over from what I am. I can't
absolutely.
be, I mean, I guess they could try and emulate. Nah, you're always going to be, mate, you're too big. If you're too big of an actor, you won't see who I am.
Right.
And
That's
so
true.
So when the source said to me, "I'm going to make you a little bit famous," and it's still in a big way, but it's a little bit. I don't get paid big money to do what I do, and that's not what it's about. For me, it's about the pleasure of the source has said, "I'm going to do this for you because I got to get you out there somehow."
Hmm.
And this is a bit of fun. Like that's fun. Like it's a fun way to get out there. I also heard in that voice that there's a guru. Now I didn't hear I was going to meet a guy. I heard there's a guru. That's all I heard. A little bit of fun, and there's a guru. And as it turned out, I started to change the way I dressed from standard pairs of jeans and shirt. I started wearing Nepalese clothing. I was buying it on eBay originally because I just said to my wife, I want to change myself gradually, but I don't want to wear the stock standard anymore. I don't even feel comfortable in that clothes. I said to her, I'm thinking of just grabbing a sheet and cutting a hole in it and grabbing the curtain rod and putting it around me. just, just as a bit of fun, but I think I might have done it, to be honest.
I would
But
believe it.
anyway,
I'd believe it.
yeah, I reckon I could pull it off, but it'd be a bit too Jesus-like. I think they'd be thinking I was trying to be somebody else, right?
Could be. Could be.
Yeah. So anyway, I ended up just buying some of this Nepalese clothes on eBay. Then I bumped into a guy at our local market who actually was selling the clothing and he was bringing it in from Nepal and he was Nepalese.
Oh,
And funnily enough, this was just before I went on Survivor, right? So all the clothes that I'm wearing when you see me on Survivor, on both occasions and even till this day, typically I get off this guy. Funnily enough, his father was a guru.
really?
Yeah. See, when the source tells you something, mate, it's not for me to put it together. It's for me to bump into it because it's the source's plan. It's not my plan. It's the source's plan, but it fits me perfectly.
Mm.
So that's why I reckon I got the gift, right?
Yeah.
That's what, yeah.
And how do they, or I guess how do you define what a guru is, right? I'm sure you may have heard, seen Tony Robbins, right? I'm not your guru, right?
Yeah,
And
sure,
all that. So you're
sure.
embracing that, right?
Yeah, sure.
What does that
Yeah.
mean to you? What does that mean
So,
to you?
yeah, so I guess in the lead up to how I end up becoming a guru, because this guy's father is a guru, he meets me. He introduces me to his father. The minute his father meets me, his father now gets an enlightenment that tells him that I am somebody that he needs to know. Now, I don't know any of the story, right? So I'm not chasing this guru badge. I've now met a guru. He asks me to come to Nepal. That was only like, I'm going to say 6 years ago, right? He
Okay.
asks me to come to Nepal. He says to me, can you come to Nepal? I know him as Guru Prakash, but I'm not Googling him. I'm not looking up who he is. I'm not trying to check him out. I didn't really care. I heard the story said something about a guru. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, now I've met one, but I'm still not trying to make anything happen because I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't know what to do. I just heard that there's a guru, but I don't know what to do with this guru.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to become a guru. I just was told there was a guru. So that's his job. If he's got something that he has to bring to me, that's his job, not mine.
Mhm.
And he asks me to come to Nepal, but I don't feel right about it. I'm not feeling it's like I don't want to go. I'm like feeling that energy. I kept knocking him back. I kept saying every year he asks me. when COVID kicks in, he dies.
He dies.
He dies from COVID. He got the flu and died, right? And
Ugh.
and I still like I don't even know the guy. I mean, I've met him twice, 3 times. We've had lunch. He's looking at me as if I'm something, and he keeps asking me, and then he dies. And then I know his son. His son's a good friend of mine still. I'm just like, yeah, okay. I mean, I'm not thinking anything. And then I think it was last year, obviously, last year. There's this other guru in Nepal who was asking me as well in conjunction with this guy, right? But now the other guy's dead, so now there's this guy called Santo. He's a guru as well. He's now asking me directly to come, and I keep pushing him away. See this thing again? Whatever's meant for you will never pass you by. So this is lose the fear, people. Lose the fear. Oh, I don't know. Am I going to get the job? Who cares, man? Push it away. If it's yours, it's coming back to you. Like if it's yours, I promise you this. If it's really meant for you, you could push it away for 6 years and it will just keep coming back. And it did. They kept asking me, come, but never a reason. No one's telling me, oh, we want you to come for some reason. They're just saying, come. And so eventually last year, I'm driving into Toowoomba, the town just from us. I'm going to visit the guru's son, the guy who's passed away. I'm visiting the son just to say goodnight. And I'm sensing that they're going to ask me to come again to the place, right?
Yeah.
And I say to the creator, I go, hey, listen, this is how you call it prayer meditation. This is how I roll. So I'm in the car, I'm driving, I'm going, hey, listen, yeah, sure. There's this thing with these gurus, right? So like, what do you want me to do? Like, what energy do you want me to do around this? Like, I'm talking like I'm talking to you. The source created us in this manifestation. This is the version. So I got to think that same sort of version. And I'm just like, so what do you want me to do? And I get this voice say to me again, says, tell them they have to pay. I guess it pay all your expenses. That's it. Just tell them. I thought, sure, because that usually qualifies people, right?
Sure.
Like if I said to somebody, if Survivor asked me the second time to come, and I said, sure, but you have to pay me $100,000, they'd say no.
Right. Right. Money does talk sometimes. It gives you a true it gives you an idea of how much something is really worth to someone else.
Exactly, particularly to them, right?
Right.
Because it's them who have to place the value on it, because I'm getting asked to come, but I'm not desiring to come. There was nothing in me pulling me to Nepal. And so I get there, and the guru, he asks me again, he says, will you come? And I said, here's the deal, man. I said, if you pay for everything, I'll come. He bought the tickets that afternoon.
Wow. They really wanted you to be there. There was something calling for you to be there.
The best part I like about these cats, they never show their hand. They're not telling you why they want you to come. See, they're testing me as well, because they may pay for your tickets, but I still got to get on the plane. So they're checking me out to see if I am the deal, because a bit of a snippet into it. The guru passed away. He's telling the other guru, I think this is the guy.
Wow.
And I don't know this. Nobody's telling me this, because they're a little bit quiet, because, see, they don't want to scare the chickens, right? Like, they don't want to say to me more than they need to.
Yeah.
And so now I arrive in Nepal. I'm greeted by an entourage of people. I only went there with the clothes on my back and my passport. That's it. I didn't take luggage. I was thinking, if I'm going to this thing, I'm going in like as if I'm heading into Survivor, man.
Right. You've been there. You've been there before. You know what that's like. It's prepared you.
Practice. So I get there. They greet me as if I'm the Dalai Lama, man. They're like, putting reeds over my head. They're giving me scarves, and then as soon as I get to this guy's house, he gives me a bag and it's got clothes in it.
Wow.
He said, here's clothes for you to wear while you're here. The journey was like 12 days. I'll shorten it up a bit because there's so many stories in it, but we want to get to the punchline, right? So now I think it's about 2 days. It's just prior to the prior to the ceremony for guru, because that's not even happening. Like that, nobody's telling me, hey, we want to make you a guru. Nobody's saying anything. We're on a journey. We're visiting places. We're going to different ashrams. I can't even tell you the town I went to where I stayed because I have no clue. I know I flew into Kathmandu. From there, I got no idea where we went. I just went with them.
Wow.
I got no idea. Even to this moment, I don't know the city that I was taken to where they're building an ashram. I don't even know the name of the place. I haven't even bothered to ask.
Wow. Because it doesn't
But
really matter, right? The name doesn't really matter.
not to me. The journey's within. It's that's a destination. So we get to a point now that I've been on this roller coaster with these guys for like 10 days. We're just about getting to the end of the trip. And now I'm sitting on a rooftop with this guy in Kathmandu, or, actually no, in his place anyway. He says to me, I need to share something with you. And I said, what's that? He said, I had a vision about 8 years ago of that I had to build an ashram because the guru was coming. And he said, just so you know, he said, when I got that vision, he's a wealthy guy, this cat. I didn't know he was wealthy, right? That means nothing to me, but I guess it's part of the story because somebody's got to have the brass to do something, right?
The means.
Exactly, right? So that's his gig. That's not my gig. That's his gig. So here's the fascinating part of this journey is that he tells me 8 years ago, he gets a vision and he gets a voice telling him to build a place. Remember 8 years earlier, I get a vision of somebody tells me we're going to get a little bit famous and there's a guru.
And that was the exact same time.
Same 8 years. And then he says to me, because he's a man of means, he said to me, I sent 5 people out into the world to find this person. Like, this is Hollywood shit, man.
What? I sent all these people. You kept pushing them away.
Well, the time wasn't right. It wasn't right. The time wasn't right. COVID was coming in my vision when I had it. I had a vision like, I had the calling. I had this thing about the fame and stuff. One thing you asked me about when I came back from the first Survivor, when I came back, my wife went to France for 3 months to visit a friend. Now I'm 3 months alone, and all I do is for 3 months is for 5 hours every day. I'm in a constant meditation. I just felt drawn into this constant meditation. At night, I'd pace up and down beside my bed and talk to the Creator. When I was on Survivor in the first one, every night I would walk up and down the beachfront, the first one, up and down for 5 hours every night. And production said to me one night, hey, man, are you okay? And I went, yeah, why? What's the matter? They said, well, you've been doing this for the last few nights. We're just a little bit worried you might have flipped your lid, man. And I'm like, why? And they said, well, you walk up and down here all night and you're talking to something and you're waving your arms around and you talk. I said, well, I'm talking to the energy that built this place, mate.
Wow.
And they're like, oh, okay.
It's not something they hear every day.
No, exactly, right. So anyway, so that then comes back with me because, you said this earlier, that comes back with me. I'm now in Australia pacing up. In this, I see the vision of, and look, anyone could make this story up. This is an easy one to say the world was going to get sick. The world's always been sick. It's been sick. It's been sick since the beginning. There's been plagues and famines and all sorts. That's an easy call, right? But I saw, this was before COVID, I saw the place getting very sick. But forget that. What I saw as the next part was it getting very better. That there was a very much a uniqueness that was coming to planet Earth now, or that's already resided here. And I believe this imperatively because of how my life's unfolding. I believe you are going to come into a time that the miraculous is going to be very, very, very prominent.
Wow.
So much so that you will come to a place where you will be able to enter that place and sit in the presence of the God energy, because it's emulated from the people that are seeking God to be able to deliver this gift of healing to those who need it without charge.
Mm.
And that's what I saw. So now let's jump forward. Shoo.
Wow.
Old mate tells me he has a vision where he said somebody was coming and he needed to build an ashram so that this person could fill it. And he said, and because he's a man of means, he sent 5 people out into the world to find this person. That's just nuts, man. And one of those persons was the guru who met me.
Unreal.
Yeah, it is.
Unreal. I
It
mean,
is.
this is like you said, this is like Hollywood stuff. Only
It
they'd be
is.
like, well, I don't know, we have to make it a little more believable. The timeline matches up a little bit too,
Yeah.
it's a little too close, right? It's
Yeah.
amazing. What an incredible story.
Yeah, it's so incredible that some people can go, oh, yeah, bullshit. But the thing is, see, it's documented. It's the fact, a little bit of fame, everything I've done on television, everything I've done, even the journey in Nepal. There's a 2-hour film of the ceremony of me actually being at this place where it's just bare ground. They planted a lot of fruit trees and stuff, but they're getting ready to build this thing. Get this, man, when the God of everything wants to be in your life and you choose to allow that to unfold. This guy's ashram is in the middle of a city. It's like 30 acres, bare land in the middle of the city. And at the end of his place where the land is, there's an international airport. The Orient built an international motel right at the foot of his proposed ashram. Around the corner, there's an international airport.
Unreal.
So when the God of everything says, I'm going to manifest this thing,
Wow.
and you got no idea, man. And then when this guru finds me here in Australia, he says to this guy in Nepal, I think I found your guy.
I mean, this is unreal. So what does this mean? Oh, they're building this ashram. What will you do? What does this all mean?
When you land on Survivor, you've got no clue what the next thing is. You just got to be in the moment and you got to be ready. That's it. I'm only in this moment. I'm here sharing this story with you. God knows who's going to listen to this. And when I say God knows who's going to listen to this, you know I mean God knows who's going to listen to
I
it.
do. So this is where like what you'd call the Western world society brain in me goes like, well, what are these people's expectations? And we're building this thing for you, and like, what do they expect from you? And what type of do you feel pressure? I mean, I understand your way of being, but this is like pretty unique. This is a unique, uncharted territory.
This is the only thing that I feel in all of this, in all honesty, is I don't know the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen things. I've seen the visions. I saw people getting better. I never saw when. I saw people getting better. Guess what? I wanted to share this story with you because it's quite unique and it ties into what we're talking about, because just in the last week, well, say a month or two ago, I bumped into a friend of mine. Now, when I say a friend, I've probably met her in a whole entire life. I'd have met her 10 times. And I bumped into her. I called in at her house to say good day to her one day. And I was sitting there and she was telling me how she had this issue. Now, she doesn't have, in Australia, you know, if you can be in the healthcare system, our healthcare system is free if you go to the public one, but the queue is like forever. Now, she had a complication that needed surgery, and she's already 3 years into having this complication, and life's just terrible for her, and you wouldn't want to be her, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there with her, and she's telling me about this thing, and I said to her, you know what? I'm into the miraculous. And she's like, how so? I said, well, like, I believe all things are possible, but here's the thing. I'm not like the Jesus miraculous where I'm going to go, oh, be healed, sister. You know, I'm not at that level. That's another level. That's a different journey, man. I said, but let me tell you what I am possibly, what I can do is I said, I want you to pick up the phone now and I want you to ring the surgeon and I want you to book in to get your operation sorted and I'll pay for all your expenses.
Wow.
And she's like, are you serious? I went, well, I am capable, physically capable of performing miracles. We just don't recognize them as such. For me to pay for your surgery is as good as me saying, be healed, sister.
Oh, wow.
I'm just going to use practical means to make the miraculous happen. That's it. When we view only the miraculous as like, oh, it's, oh, look at you. You got, you can walk, man. You were crippled. Uh-uh. If I can create an energy that can bring you into that manifestation because we have means that we've been given the abilities to create things. And if I can do that for you, that is, in your opinion, a miracle.
Wow.
She had that surgery last week, and that girl wasn't spiritual before this event, but now she is.
Wow. That
Yeah,
is
that's
amazing. That is creator working through you to heal, help, enlighten, change the
yeah.
life of another
Yeah.
person.
So now we come back to the reality, like you were talking about. They want to build this thing and da 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 da. See, none of that matters. None of that matters until it matters. Until they've done it, it's not done. But in the meantime, do you think I'm going to stop trying to heal the sick and raise the dead? No, this is practice. This
Mm.
is practice. We're practicing for what I know is coming. And until we've got the practice down pat, and not even that so much, but until the timing is in that perfect alignment, that's when that'll happen. But between now and something else, I'm not one of these guys that likes to think we got to get bigger to be better.
Hmm.
And we changed that woman's life. We changed the woman who was addicted to crack. We've changed many lives along. I've been in situations where I've seen the absolute miraculous happen, where I felt God's energy drop onto me. And I've been talking to another young lady, and we weren't even talking about her problems, but the tears started flowing out of my face. And instantly she said, "What's happening? I feel as if the burdens of the last 30 years have lifted off me." And I went, wow. So
Damn.
you see how God works? You don't have to be standing there saying to somebody, oh, I want to deal with your issues. No, I was talking about something else, and the tears flowed and she shifted. She said, I don't know what's happening. I feel like this burden that's been with me for 30 years just lifted.
Wow.
That's pretty miraculous.
That is miraculous. And like you said, you have to shift your paradigm of belief of what a miracle is, or like you said, that something that feels heavenly or like woo woo. It's like the impact of what you can say or do or be or influence or inspire in someone else, both
Yeah.
in just a simple conversation
Mm,
or in the more materialistic means of being able to pay for something, to
mm.
donate, to offer something, whatever that is. These are
Yes.
all miraculous things that can help other people. We just
Yes.
don't often look at it, or maybe society doesn't always look at it in that way and sort of count it up, if you will, in the way that
Mm.
that you'd expect.
And we're always anticipating. This is an energy that I even have to deal with, whereas that I'm not trying to get to the end of this story to
Mm,
see where it finishes. This is the story, man. Like if somebody ever wanted to get on Survivor one time and they'd have got there like I did, they go, "Well, man, I achieved it." Hey, well, cool. That is an achievement. You can never take that away. But your life shouldn't stop prior to getting on there.
hmm.
Or in the miracle. I'm doing miracles every day, man. We're manifesting stuff like, left, right, and center in our daily lives, as well as, there's a future. I said to someone the other day, why I see an ashram filling up? It's not because of what we do when the ashram's built, it's what we did before it was built that fills it up.
Mm, that's
Filling it
really
up
true.
filling it up is just a recognition, I guess, of the fact that we did a lot of good things. So we want to have a party every year now. We want to celebrate how we, made that person's life better.
Hmm.
And we've got a place where we can do that. And this guy, when he said to me that he saw a vision of building this and he knew he had to build it because somebody was coming to fill it, he said, it's you, man. He said, it's you. And I went, potentially. I mean, it's all fitting, right?
Yeah.
So then they go, we got to make you the guru. And I'm like, sure, because it all fits. And remember, I grew my hair in honor of a brother for 5 years.
Yeah.
When I got to the end of the 5 years, I'm now Kiosk Kev. I've got an incentive to keep the hair because Kiosk Kev had the hair, man. And not only that, when I'm doing All Stars, it's like the first thing they ask me is when they ring me, they go, "Hey, Tarzan, you still got the hair?"
Right.
They want the continuity, you know, of like this is what he looked like then. We want him to look a bit like this.
Yeah. Yep.
And I said, I do. So they said, right, you're on. So, you know, it served its purpose. When I get to the ashram where we're building the ashram, there's a river at the back. And I've got this documented, which is kind of cool. When I was doing a circle around the ashram, you walk around the perimeter, right?
Yeah.
It's just what they want you to do. It's a symbolic thing. You walk around it. It's kind of mapping out your place. I got to a point I couldn't walk any further. I was like stopped in my tracks, and the power of God came upon me, and I just completely. I was this gut wrenching roar coming out of me because I was getting to a threshold of now I was going to release the energy that was in the hair that had been there for 8 years.
Wow.
So, mate, I actually felt I couldn't move, and until I gave up this gut-wrenching crying roar, and they were concerned because, like, these people, they've got a vision in their heads, but they're not me, right? So I'm walking in my chapter. When I do this, they're all a bit like, "Oh, is he okay?"
Right. 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 Somebody's always going, "Hey, are you okay? You're like doing
that's
something
it.
out of character."
Yeah. Is he okay? If not, you know, well, let's move on. Let's not get embarrassed here, you know. That
Right.
never.
Right.
I managed to walk another 3 steps, and it comes on me again in a wave where this gut wrenching roar comes out of me, and I'm just in tears, and I'm just head in hand. Anyway, that finishes, and then I go, "Are we ready? Like, let's go, man." And so we do a little ceremony, and then I thought to myself when they started shaving my head that I would be very emotional. Like, I often described it this way as having the Samson syndrome. You know, Samson, the story of Samson, when Delilah cuts his hair and
Okay.
he loses all his strength. His
Mm.
strength in his hair. And so when Delilah cuts his hair off, they can now bind and chain him because he's not superhuman anymore.
Oh.
His strength disappears.
Oh, wow.
So I was thinking that this was me, right? Because the hair had been such a thing, and now they're going to shave it off. I thought it would really bring me to tears when they cut it off. It was the absolute opposite. What I lived in fear of was now made strength.
Wow.
When they took the first slice of hair, I actually went, "Oh, I'm here." I was like, this is the rebirth that was coming, that I'm now in this moment. I didn't anticipate it. I anticipated the opposite. But every time they took a bit more hair off, I was like, this is what I'm here for. And
Wow.
then we released the hair down the river that runs behind the ashram. And again, that gut wrenchingness came up from me. I was releasing my brother, like I was letting him go.
Wow.
It's it's a hell of a ride, man. And I don't plan on getting off the bus anytime soon.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, because there was so much in that, right? So much in that hair and the commitment that you had, right? Where you would have walked away from the fame. Hey, no thanks. I'm not cutting this. I'm not changing my look, because of your brother and the
Yeah,
connection that you had and the commitment, and
yeah,
then to come full circle where it was a release, and then you realized, oh, even what you might have thought my power, my strength is in my hair is not. Well, now what can I become? What can I create in this world from the
yeah.
creator? I mean,
Well,
that's
they renamed me as Guru Markanday, and Markanday is actually, funnily enough, man, that's a real Hindu god. It's Markanday, and it's spelt Mark. My name is Mark.
wow.
Markandeya. It nearly sounds like EIO, like the old song, right? EIEIO.
Yeah.
He's the fun guru, this guy, man. I am what people see me as. Am I a guru? I am to some, and what am I to others, right? I am whatever I need to be in order for those people to reconnect to their creator. I want everybody to feel what I feel, because even in your darkest moments, you can feel that there's hope, there's light, there's something more than what they're telling you that this is.
Mhm.
This is a shadow of what was meant for what we are. This isn't what it was meant to be, but it's not. I actually think this isn't too bad of a version. I think we've done a pretty good job. We've just allowed our lesser selves to rule. That's all.
That
And
is true.
that's happening in politics. It's happening in industry. It's happening in film. It's happening everywhere. When you see your lesser self rise up, and we would refer to that as ego.
Mhm.
And when your ego rises up, that's where the shit rolls, man. That's when you let in the negative energies. That's when that crap starts to manifest itself. And people go, why is my life so shit? Well, I don't know. Maybe you should reflect. Maybe you should just get. I say to a lot of people, they go, what do you do? How do you start this journey? The simplest thing to do is to sit and say, I've done this, man, in one occasion. If you've got time, I'll share it. It's a short
Yeah,
step.
please. I'm all you got up early for me, so I'm happy to roll.
There was a time in my life that I was absolutely ready to end it. I was about 30 years old and I had 2 kids and a wife. I had a moment that I could never hold a positive thought, or everything I thought was negative. I often felt that life was going to end, my children would suffer. You know, that real negative shit that just keeps compounding you day after day. And I'm young, I'm 30 and I've got no mentors. I've got no one I can lean into to go, hey man, I feel like I feel suicidal every day. I used to play this thing called Pick a Tree when I was driving home from work.
Oh, wow.
I used to say to myself, I got to end this, because I could not hold any thought that was of benefit. It was just negativity all day, 24/7. It was terrible. And I remember washing the dishes one day and getting to a point, and I don't mean to be too graphic, but this is real life shit, right?
It
I
is.
grabbed a knife and I was about to stab myself in the eyeball with it, just to end it.
Oh,
I don't know why I'd stab myself in the eyeball. I'm sure there's easier ways, right? But it was like you're in that moment of desperation, and I'm
mhm.
doing the dishes, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And this is what I did. Instead of doing that, I chose to do this thing, and I did this. I cried out internally. I just said, I can't do this anymore, and I don't know what to do. It's clearly, I knew not what to do. I didn't have anyone to turn to. I didn't want my wife to know I was suffering like this. I didn't want my children. I had a good mask on. I kept, like many I've met already now that suffer depression, they're very good at pretending. I was really good at it. I've been doing it for a few years, this pretending of being okay, but I was absolutely fucked. I was finished. And to the point of I was about to end. So I cried out and said, I need help. I don't even know I'm asking, right? I'm just thinking there's something. And I go, I need help. I can't do this anymore. And this is what came to me like this. Now, if you're listening to this and it doesn't come to you like this, so what? This is your journey. This was mine. Yours could come already before you ask, or it may come in a different way. Don't quit. That's all I'm telling you. If you're asking for it, sit in there and wait for that energy to come. The God of all creation will not let you down. I know that. I know it. You just have to be prepared to hear it. And so I heard this in me said, this is funny, this, because it says, it instantly came to me like as a resolution. It said, for every negative thought you have, replace it with 3 positive ones. Well, okay, that was something, right? But that's like a lot of bloody hard work, isn't it, eh? Like, that's not just going, oh, I feel changed. No, now the job was on. And I can tell you for 3 solid years, every moment, and that's why I have the expression now, every breath and every step I take is a prayer. I'm in every moment of consciousness, knowing that every moment I move has a profound roll-on effect to me and to those around me. So I've learned that because I stuck it out. And here's the thing, I had I had the best energy to stick it out with. I had God's inspiration. Anyway, this comes to me. Now let me jump at 3 years. After 3 years, I start getting moments where I feel, oh, it's not so bad. 3 solid years. If you're out there and you're screaming in your pillow every night, keep screaming until it arrives. It will come. You just don't quit. You don't quit. That's not an option. Just stay with it. And here's the point. After that period of time, I started to grow, and I grew, and still growing. It's not easy, man. It's a tough gig sometimes, but you've got to listen. Now here, let me go 20 years forward now, and I'm listening to something about something, and it was a Buddhist monk was talking about enlightenment and stuff. I knew no Buddhism. I'm not in. I've been to Buddha's birthplace and stuff, but man, I don't do temples and stuff. I'm not into places. I'm into people.
Mm.
I
I
was
love
at
that.
I was in a festival where there's 1 million people in a festival, in a Hindu festival, and a reporter pulls me up and wants to interview me because I look white and I look like a guru. And she says to me, "What do you like the most about our place here?" I said, "It's the people." "Oh, but what do you think of the temples?" I said, "I like the people that are in the temples. I'm not here for your temples. I'm here for your people. I'm here to save those that need saved. That's what I'm here for. Not biblically saved. I want you to save yourself, whatever it is you think that you can't." Anyway, 20 years later, I'm listening to a Buddhist priest, and this Buddhist priest says, in the Buddhist tradition, in the Buddhist belief system, we have one thing that is very, very useful to people. And he says this: for every negative thing that comes into your mind, replace it with 3 positives. And I went, piss off. I heard that from the same place Buddha heard it from 2,500 years ago. This was Buddha's enlightenment under a boab tree, where God said to him, for every negative thought, replace it with 3 positive things. And I went, see, you don't even have to be a Buddhist to get in touch with God. You just have to go in. You just have to ask this. You just step into God's energy. It surrounds us. I call it God's Wi-Fi. Unlike our Wi-Fi, it gets a lot of interference. God's Wi-Fi is clear as a bell all the time. If there's interference, it's because you're getting in your way.
Damn. I mean, I didn't even want to speak when I was listening to that, because that is just so amazing. And as soon as you started saying what the Buddhist person was saying, I was like shaking my head, like I know where this is going. That was unreal.
I'd never heard it before. And then 20 years later, after I'm pretty much on the track of enlightenment, and I'm seeking the divine, and I still have my days like everyone. But when I heard that, I went, come on, man. That's like, you don't have to have a belief system. You do not need a religion. I promise you, I'm not pissing on them. If you enjoy your belief system, embrace it because of the people that are in it. Remember I said it's not the people it's not the temple, it's those that are in it.
Yep.
I'm only here for the people. I'm not here for the surroundings. I like to see nature. I like to see the bush. I like living in the jungle. But I got to tell you, I'm only here for the vessels that God dwells within, and I want to flick their switch. I want to put their Wi-Fi back on and go get reconnected, man.
God, I just love that. And I really think, as we were talking earlier, this message is going to resonate with many, many people, both on I think those that have faith or have a religion and go, yeah, like it's same spokes of the same wheel. I'm in that. And other people who go, oh, I like that message means I don't have to join a official religion or something with structure. It's all just that idea of asking and listening and being aware and getting in that connection with that voice that can speak to you. And I think far too often the interference is the noise and the everyone pushing and pulling you into what they think you should believe, as opposed to just getting out there and being quiet. I mean, that's something I struggle with. I mean, I think it's natural that the world that we live in is the result of a lot of other people and a lot of noise, and just getting out there and
ego, right? There's
a lot of ego.
Mate, we train our kids to compete.
Right.
Why? We should train them to have compassion. Competing can be fun. I love being in a survivor challenge, but I'm not competing against him or her or the other team. I'm seeing how well I can do it. That's it. I'm competing with me, as in the energy of like, wow, what can I do? They want me to climb over this bloody 4 meter tower. I'm 50 something years old. I think, will I be able to? Hey, hell, I did it. I'm not competing with you. I can't compete with you. You're a different version of who I am. You're your vessel. If I want to anytime you're in a competition, it's only with yourself.
Yep.
You think someone else beats you? He beat me. What? How can he beat me? You can't beat me. Your version does that job better than me. No, I did it my way. Like old Frank Sinatra said, I did it my way, man. This competition stuff, it creates a lot of negative energy, man. It's something that people may not like to hear this, but competing, and I'm not saying you can't have fun, but when your ego gets in the way of competing, you've already lost.
Yeah. Yep.
You've already lost, man. You just become an arsehole who's good at running. Like,
And you're just chasing things that, I mean, you even look at sports, people that compete, people that achieve all of a sudden, yes, but can they do it again? What do they do now? It's like,
you're only as good as your last game, right? That's what
right,
they say.
right.
Be
It's,
as good as your last game.
yeah, I talked to somebody not on an interview, but just somebody who did Everest, and it was like, what was it like? You trained and you did all these things, and then you were finally on Everest. What was it like afterwards? And it was like,
Yeah.
it was the emptiest feeling that I had ever felt, because you maybe thought it was about the journey, but once it was over, it's like, well, now what?
Yeah. We're watching a show at the moment. I love it. A friend of mine, Matt Rogers, who he's on it. He's a legend, mate. And I
He
love.
is.
Oh, mate, I could tell you some great stories with Matty. But I'm watching him on this show we got in Australia. It's called, I think it's a Summit. It's called the Summit, right? And they've got to get within 14 days to the top of this mountain, this 8,000 feet above sea level thing. And I'm watching it. And I'm like, mate, I'm loving it. But they film at the same time of the year I do Kiosk Kev. So there's no chance of me auditioning for it because, of the timelines. But I would absolutely love it. And we watched the first season last night, and so it's in second season. Maddie's in the second season. The first season, it's on like pay TV stuff. So we're watching it because we like it so much.
Yeah.
I said to Natalie when the final three get to the top of the summit, because it's all about how much cash they can drag up the hill, right?
Okay. Yep.
I tell you, let me say this. I know for a fact, long after that money's gone, the experience will not have left it.
Absolutely.
If you're doing something like that and your focus is just the cash and that's your paramount thing, you're wasting your time, man. It's the journey that's the experience. It's the journey that brings the gratification. Like, win or lose is irrelevant. I lost Survivor twice, but I gained a bloody lifetime of memories and conditionings and things that will serve me way more than the 500K would have if I ever got it.
Absolutely. It's funny sometimes, my wife and I will go on trips, New Zealand, Australia, Costa Rica, and
Come in next time you're in Australia, man.
oh, I definitely will. We definitely want to check out Uluru, because when we were there, they were just getting ready to close it, and everybody was like clamoring to get there. And so we were like, well, let's not even go near that, but we definitely want to come back. But when you have these experiences on these trips where you're like, oh my gosh, this is tough, or this is awful, and you're just in a little bit of the hardship or the uncomfortableness of it, we will say to ourselves, you know what, this will all age very well. Like, be in the moment. But the experience, what you're going to think of after it's over, after you're comfortable again, we're going to look back on this, the good, the bad, the ugly, the hard. It's all going to age very well as an experience. And that is done. We have to tell ourselves that sometimes when you're in it, but it is always proven true.
Absolutely. If you ever get back over this way, man, certainly come here to my place and stay. We'll sit in the sweat lodge and we'll jump in the ice water.
I can't wait to do that.
Well, and here's the bonus, man. My brother, who's like a twin version of me, only he's got hair on the top of his head. He's got a beard like me. It was funny. Last year, I'm a Celebrity. We're filming some outback shots, right? and
Yeah.
they went out to the Northern Territory, right?
Yeah.
This is true story, man. This is the God that I believe in, that just manifests things into my life that you could not believe. So my brother rings me and he says, "Hey, you'll never guess." I said, "What?" He said, "I'm a celebrity's out here at my camel farm, and I'm catering for the staff while they're shooting some footage out in the outback." And I went, "Bullshit." And he's like, "No, man, I'm telling you the truth." Anyway, some of the cameramen are taking pictures of them with him and sending them to me to go, "See?" And he's an identical version of me, only he's 6'6". He's taller and he's still got hair on the top of his head, but we look very similar. And how uncanny. The people, and mate, out of all the places in the world that this film crew could go and shoot some outback scenes, they go to my brother's camel farm out in the Northern Territory near Uluru.
Unreal. Are you kidding? That is
Oh, God, that's documented proof, man. I can show you footage of them out
oh,
there filming it.
oh
Yeah.
my God, that is unreal. That is
They even said he looks so much like you, man. I said, "I'll tell you what, if I ever have to give up this gig, he'll replace me."
just swap it out.
He's just taller. And
Oh,
he's up.
that is
Yeah.
amazing. Well, I would love to. I will definitely, let's make that happen. I will definitely do that, and it would be really cool. And I know we'll wrap things up here so you can get to your sweat lodge, hopefully. And I didn't mess with your routine too much with you and
Mate.
your wife.
It's all
But
flexible.
I do want to mention that you created Manifest Kombucha,
Oh,
and
yeah.
people can go and check out manifestkombucha.com.au.
Yeah.
And I just love all that you're doing, because even that, you're getting into water rights and making sure that all
Yeah,
these things are
sure.
protected. It's really cool.
Yeah, we actually, when COVID happened, we grew limes here. We were doing some lime farming. We couldn't make any money out of it, so I was glad in some ways COVID came along. We had to shift gears. We'd done it for like 10 or 12 years trying to make it happen, but markets are very unstable. So we've got a very good water resource on our property. So we decided to add value to the property by getting the water registered to be able to sell it. And here's the funny thing, man. When we put the application into council, again, we're not doing it like everyone else. We said we want to get it licensed to be able to sell, to add value to the farm, more so in the case of an emergency. If we have to sell, we've just added value, right? But we don't actually want to sell the water because we don't like the energy around selling spring-fed bottled water. We just don't. We just think it's depleting a natural resource, and we just don't like that idea. Having said that, we used to put 20 million litres of water on our orchard every year. So I know. So we were wasting it because we couldn't sell the fruit. We'd make all this fruit, no one want to buy it. Like prices would crash and all that sort of thing. So we ended up cutting the orchard in half. We managed to get the water license approved. Council unanimously voted for us, which is as rare as. That doesn't happen. My town planner said in 8 years of being a town planner, I've never seen this happen, where council agree on anything.
Wow.
Yeah, unanimous.
It's happening again. Meant to
Yes,
be.
mate. And I said to this town planner, I said, stick around. There's more miracles to come.
Wow. I love
Anyway, yeah. So we got that approved. We developed Manifest Kombucha. We basically sell it at a local market. We've just put in the last 3 years, we're just now finishing our third expansion. But for us, unlike a lot of businesses, and bless them, you do you, I'm doing me. That's it for us. We don't want to expand any greater than it is. Our next journey from there is, if it has to grow, we'll sell it. We'll let that go. And then we know that we'll be on a different journey, right? It'll take it a different way. But until that happens, and if it happens, we just making this really great drink. Every Saturday, there's probably at least 300 people turn up to refill their bottles.
Oh, so good. My wife really loves kombucha, so she's just always, she has her favorites, but she's always open to trying the new ones. So we'll definitely have to check that out when we're there.
Absolutely, you'll have it. And we use our own. So now we shifted. So from, I guess, Somebody said to me once, we could sell all our water allocation, 20 million litres of water, we could sell it to, say, Coca-Cola for 200,000 a year. That's about its value, right? The first year we produced kombucha, because for us it was about minimization, using it less. And so the first year we produced 20,000 litres of kombucha and we sold it for 200,000.
Wow. Good for
So
you.
how's that, eh? 20
Uh,
million litres of water for 200K or 20,000 litres of kombucha for 200,000?
Unreal. That's amazing.
That's sustainable, right? That's when you start talking about real sustainability, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
And not depleting the resource. We've had more rain than 20,000 litres.
Wow. That's amazing. Good for you. I'm so happy that you're able to do that. And I love that that sounds like such a great sustainable plan for you. And like you said, who knows where it goes, but at least you know if it gets to a certain point, we just let that go in next chapter.
We've already dealt with that energy. It's not that we're planning for that. We don't make, even with that, look, we don't promote, we don't advertise, except for on things like this where we're
Sure.
talking about. I don't think too many Americans are going to buy my drink tomorrow, right? But anyway, the reality is that my son is very much an intricate part of this. He had a healing happen to him during COVID. He broke an ankle, and he had an Aboriginal guy actually. It wasn't the physical healing of the ankle, it was the emotional healing within, right? He was getting depressed and he was suicidal, those sort of,
Mm.
I can relate, right? And he
Yeah.
wasn't even telling us. He bumps into an Aboriginal guy, an Australian native guy who's a healer, sees the pain in my son's eyes, tells him, "Do you want to be healed?" My son goes, he says these exact words, "Go your fucking hardest." He's like, as if he's like saying, "Oh yes, please fix me." He's like looking at this guy, go, "Sure, mate, go your fucking hardest." And this guy did a miraculous where he actually, we would say the laying on of hands, right? Where he put his hand on my son's chest. Boom. My son said to me when he got home, he said, "Dad, I feel born again." He was literally physically jumping up and down on the spot because he was now free of this burden. He's become such a spiritual part of this whole journey that I tell you, and this isn't for advertisement purposes because we don't advertise, but it's the point, right? Every time he puts a brew of kombucha together and he sets it in place, so he's drawn off enough product to make a brew for the week, and he sets it in place. He turns the lights off in the brew room, he lays on the floor, and he meditates with that brew for an hour. And I tell you, man, I'm not bullshitting you. You can come to my market on a Saturday. They line up 10 deep to buy this stuff. And it's like we're selling them a healing medicine. People tell us, they go, "Since we started drinking your kombucha, mate, my life has changed."
Amazing. I believe it.
I believe
There's
it
an
because
energy, there's an energy to it.
absolutely. And we're not trying to mass produce this thing. And we don't, this costs you $10 a bottle, man, for like nearly
Wow. Oh my gosh.
we're not ripping it into it. We're going here. And when we sell it to the public, it's an energy we exchange. Even in our selling, we're doing like I'm with you today. We have conversations. We talk to them. We have spiritual guidance with them. We have enlightenment with them. One woman who's a pretty big businesswoman in town, I got to spend a day with her, and she's a customer of mine, and she was very depressed and she wasn't sure what to do with herself. She has now flipped the coin, selling a business, paying off her properties, and she's retiring because I was able to show her that there's more to living that business.
I mean, this is unreal.
That's what
No
I'm
one,
saying.
no
We've got,
wonder this is such a proof of the energy that you're living in. Like
yeah,
this
it
is
is.
for real stuff because it's not just in one place in one aspect, it's surrounding you.
It's every breath and every step, man. It's like I am in it. So people go, "Oh, there's an ashram getting built in Nepal for you." Yeah, sure. It's not getting built for me. I'm part of that journey. It's getting built. And this is what I said to someone in Nepal last night. The best way to fill an ashram is to fill it with people that you've made an impression on.
Mhm.
I don't want to ever be involved in anything that looks like we're trying to raise a shit ton of money so that I can inflate my guru ego. What I want to do is I want to disappear into the crowd and I want to be able to heal the sick and raise the dead from ground level. I don't want to be so emulated that you can't touch me. And I don't want to be so emulated that some guy who wants to do a podcast with me in America says, hey, man, can I get in touch with you? I go, sure, let's do it. Because we don't know who through this will hear this. And they're already asking me for the links to your podcast. Right. So you got to give me that shit, man. Whatever that stuff is, you got to
Thank you.
so I can flick it on my Insta because they're already asking for it. And that was one lady already in Africa who was asking for it. And when she hears this podcast, because she'll hear that I've talked about it. Hi,
She's
Jackie.
What was her name?
Jackie. Jackie. So
Hey, Jackie.
let's
Amazing.
make it happen. And the reality is that you don't know who you will heal or who you will bring from the dead emotionally. Like when I say heal the sick and raise the dead, I do mean actually in the real sense of if someone's dead, I'm pretty sure if they're meant to come back, we could kind of go, hey man, you're not done, get back. And it would happen because we'd will it into existence. The reality is there's so many spiritually dead people. I need to see them flick on the switch for their sake, not mine. If you don't get better, it makes no difference to me, right?
Yeah.
You get better for you. That's who you get better for. You
Yep.
don't get better for your spouse or anyone else. You get ready and better for you because you're the vessel that once you're better, you will shine a light that your spouse and children will be drawn to.
Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough for your
Yeah,
time. It's amazing to have this opportunity to talk to you all the way in Australia. I think you're an amazing person. Everything that I thought and hoped that you would be, you have been in hundredfold. And so thank you for sharing your time and your story and your message and what you're doing. It's already changed me, and I will listen and think about and reflect on all of this. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And thank you, man. It's an opportunity. Like I said, it's you're part of this journey as I'm part of yours. So, and we literally could go on for days, man. But
Absolutely.
I do thank you for this opportunity. And I know when you add intent, add this intent. Your podcast will change lives, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and click here to watch other shows from the most interesting person in the room.